I thought I would do a little illustration to kind of help explain the whole email systems. It gets kind of confusing when we're using a third party, like all-in-one marketing system. So what I'm talking about today is the GoHighLevel slash whatever the white label agency is. So a lot of people are using Funnel Gorgeous or FGF. And this is actually what we call a white label. I'm just going to write that up here so we can have it. And what white label means is they are using this software, but they put their name on it. All right. I'll just get my little pen out here so I can write a little bit. So if you think about GoHighLevel, this is like the master. Okay. And so Funnel Gorgeous, they're using all of the software with GoHighLevel, but they've just put their own logo on it. And just excuse me, out of the gate, out of the box, when you sign up for the email, things have changed recently depending on when you're watching this. But GoHighLevel, they actually, they've come out with what they call the LC lead connector mail. Basically, it's all rolled into one. All right. So when you sign up for Funnel Gorgeous or one of the white label programs, there's probably some kind of email connectivity that's included with your price. All right. Funnel Gorgeous has offered like an upsell, which we'll call FGF mail. And that is an additional $20 a month. I think it's $20. Okay. And what that does is kind of moves you out of the general apartment building, so to speak, and puts you into a townhome. That's probably a good way to describe it. You can also do what they call get your own domain email. So what that means is you're the only one using what we call the IP address. All right. So just like in an apartment building, each apartment has a number, but that main street address is the same. So this, if it was an address, it might be 123 Main. It's very hard for me to write with my mouse here, but you get the idea of what I'm saying. Okay. So that's the main address. And then this might be apartment A, B, C, and D. When you're using the FGF mail, and especially when you get your own personal domain, in other words, like I'm Starr Consulting. I've used Deb at Starr Consulting for years. So that's my own personal domain email. I could hook that up to FGF or any of the other GoHighLevels. And that's my domain. Okay. And with FGF, they're giving us the option of having basically our own IP address. So in other words, my own little, pot here, so to speak. I don't have to worry about what everybody else is sending. All right. Now, there's been some issues because when you're in a shared environment, especially this environment here, everybody gets hit if people start, all it takes is one person to start sending out a lot of spam type emails. And what happens is on the back end, let me see if I can draw this. On the back end, we'll just call them the mail servers. So you've got different companies, different places that you're sending mail to, right? So if we're just going to call this the X email, if he or she starts sending out all of these spam emails, what happens is the email police, so to speak, they start watching and they say, wait a minute. this guy is just sending out spam. So we aren't even going to let these emails get into the inbox. We're going to kind of block things here. Okay. So when you use like a shared environment, all it takes is one or two like bad email practices to kind of start polluting the pot, so to speak. So if you move to your own basically custom domain and your own IP, it's going to cost you a little more, but you're protected. All right. So, it is worthwhile to just have your own domain. That way you're kind of in control of that. Now, let me just erase this here for a minute. That being said, when you're like a new kid on the block, so let me come down here and just erase this stuff a little bit if I can. When you first start sending out emails, so you have the IP address, okay? And the first time that email goes out someplace, the servers, again, the server is kind of like the gatekeeper. It's looking at this email and it's saying, who is this? I don't know for sure if we even know who this is. Depending on how the email is created, that gateway, so to speak, may just throw everything down here into the junk because it doesn't recognize that IP address. Okay. Once you make a connection, and especially if you've got somebody over here and they're saying, yes, I want these emails, then the restrictions are taken away, so to speak, and then they start going through, they start hitting the inbox. Okay. So when you switch, so if you're using one email server, ActiveCampaign or whatever, it's got its own address, and then you switch over to your own personal domain email, then that means you've got a new address. And so you have to kind of start this process all over again. If you've got a list that you're not really using that much, you're kind of just getting started, it won't really matter because people don't really know you anyway. People in the sense of the servers here. Okay. That being said, when you first start using your personal domain email, there's a few things that you should do. And within Funnel Gorgeous, the first thing they tell you is you should warm up your list and drip out. So what that means is, let's say you have a list of 500 people and you've set up your FGF mail. You don't want, excuse me, even though I'll use me as an example, Deb at Starr Consulting's, again, been around for a long time. But if I started using that custom domain here inside of Funnel Gorgeous, it's going to have this new IP address. So again, the servers, they're going to see this new email address, really the new IP number really coming through, and it's going to be like, I don't know if this is legit or not. So when we say warm up your list and then to drip it out, what we mean is send a few emails at a time. And if possible, depending on the size of your list, drip them out over a period of days. Okay, so let's say your list is 500. It's not a huge list, but look at things from the server point of view. If all of a sudden you started sending out literally 500 emails all at once, do you see how the servers are going to say, wait a minute, this looks like it's spam? Instead, see if I can erase it without taking my lines away. Whoops, oh well. Instead, it's better if you started, okay, day one, I'm going to send out 50 emails. And then day 2, I'm going to send out 50 emails. Day 3, another 50, and so forth. Okay. Then the servers, they're saying, oh, okay, it's not a robot. Basically, that's what they're looking for. Is this just a robot? Is this something just spamming everyone? So that's what we mean when we say to warm up the list and to drip out. All right. So when you first set up your personal domain email, you don't want to do a blast to all 2,000 people all at once. You want to drip it out over a few days if possible. The next thing, now this is kind of my own personal opinion, but I still stand by it. Plain text emails are much better than these beautiful newsletter type emails that we see. And GoHighLevel has just recently updated the email builder, so to speak, and you can have these beautiful emails. Well, that's great. But here's the problem, especially if your list or if you're sending from a new IP address. When you send out a piece of mail, a piece of email, what the servers do is they look at, there's information up in like the header area that they read this information, the email servers, and they kind of do a quick look through. And so if your email has lots of images, so your pretty logos and all of your little buttons and lots of links, click this, click this, click this, the email server is going to look at it and think, ooh, I don't know, this looks kind of suspicious. Compare that with if you send out an email and it's just text, nothing pretty. You could have one tiny little image if you wanted, maybe one little link here if you wanted. But when the email servers are looking at this, it looks like kind of a pretty boring but basic email. So especially when you're warming up your IP address, send plain text emails, make them really short. There's a greater chance that that type of email will land in the inbox and not in the spam folder. Okay. Another thing is once you start sending these emails out, well, let me back up. The first thing is on your thank you page or the confirmation page, if somebody opts in, I actually like to show a picture showing them how to get that email out of the promotions tab on Gmail. I even do a video, I do a little link. I tell them, hey, your first email that you're going to get from me, it's probably going to be in your spam folder. Please check your spam folder. And then I tell them, can you whitelist this or move it out of the promotions tab? I give them some kind of instruction. Now, the first email that they get from you, they're going to be excited because, especially if it's an opt-in, because that opt-in, that has the goodie. So they're going to be looking for it. Another thing that I like to do is I try to get them to reply on that email. Okay. So coming back down here, you've sent out this email, and in the email, I say something like, please hit reply and let me know that you got it. I don't like to ask a complicated question, just please hit reply. And what happens is when they hit reply, the server sends a reply back. But then all of a sudden, the two servers become best buddies because they say, oh, okay, you must like each other, so we're going to send emails back and forth. All right. Does that make sense? So again, when you first start sending out emails, try to do all of these things. Make sure that you drip them out. But it is worth it to kind of have your own little private space so that no one else is kind of muddying the waters. All right. And in the past, I guess there's been some issues. And again, all it takes is one or two people to do some things that, kind of mess up all of this. And then all of a sudden the servers, they start looking at this particular IP address and they say, oh, these guys, we don't want to deliver their mail. And there's ways of correcting all of that, but I'm just saying when you're in a shared IP account, you just have to be careful of that. All right. So I hope that makes sense and it's not too confusing. If you have questions, reach out. So the first thing that, especially if you're using FGF, it's similar to any other GoHighLevel white labeled program, but whatever your domain is, your email domain, most of these white labeled agencies, they will set up stuff on the back end for you. And then at that point, then you need to go through this process, warm the list up, send plain text emails, remind your people to dig out those emails out of the junk or spam, get them to reply. All right. Hope that helps.